And so, and I guess another thing is that Ingres had a real query optimizer. It's just an R style. About 1990, before Oracle had one. Oracle evaluated queries from left to right. And you had to write your queries in the correct order that would make them work well. So depending on how you wrote the query, you could get anywhere from good performance to terrible performance. And one of the fundamental tenets of relational databases was you weren't supposed to have to do that. And yet you had to do it with Oracle. So Larry shrewdly marketed that as well. Ingres merely had a semantic optimizer. We have a syntactic optimizer. And so they were skillful at FUD. But I think I look at things as, to this day, the enterprise software market, I think, is dominated by those two companies. They both release what I consider crummy products routinely. They both attempt to stall the market by saying, by talking about future releases long before they exist, and they're not even committed to actually existing. And they give all customers reasons to not trust any vendor. And so I think their legacy on the software industry is going to be quite negative for a long period of time.
Appreciate your thoughts. I go back a little bit on relational technology for a second. Was there a particular partner that supported you, or was your primary partner you worked with?
First it was Len Baker, and after that it was Phil Younger.
Was there second levels or third levels of VC funding for the company?
We got the second round was led by Wells Carson Anderson, and we got on the board a guy from Wells Carson Anderson. His name I will try and remember. And then there was a C round, and New Enterprise Associates was in that.
Now, this is over what period of time are these three rounds taking place? First one you said was 1980.
So the A round was it's probably, and I don't remember what the C round was.
When did the company go public?
87.
Okay, so those three rounds carried you until you went public.
Yeah.
At the meeting, one of the things that was said very clearly by the people who had been at Oracle, including Mike Humphries, for example, is that Ellison's strategy was to target specific companies each year in terms of the one he felt was the greatest threat, and then to do specific actions that he felt would not just win, but would harm the other company. That was what was stated at the meeting. Did you feel that, and from what you say, that you feel that way as well?
Well, I think in the mid-80s that company was Ingres.
So they were announcing that how did you?
Oh, absolutely. And we were to a first approximation in the VMS market. We were the only two serious competitors. I mean, at the low end, Informix played at the low end, but at the high end, we were basically the only two.
The Sharp-Base was not. They come a little later, if I remember correctly. Anything more you want to say about what happens with Ingres? After IBM comes out with DB2, Oracle starts to grow much faster. Did your growth curve sort of flatten out at that point in time? What happened?
Well, it took a big, say, in 85, we went from 9 million to 16 million. So the growth curve flattened out, and then it resumed about what it had been. But Oracle's growth curve accelerated, and ours decelerated.
Because 9 to 16 is still a pretty significant growth factor. So that was you felt that you spread and changed the ball game.
So I say that. So by 87, I think Oracle was 3 times our size. And it was the differential growth rate in those couple of years.
And you went public in 87. So were you making money at that point in time? Was your company profitable?
Yeah. Well, I mean, back then you had to be profitable to go public.
That's the late 90s. So, did you, again, who would have, is that the sort of thing that you would have more details on? Was he the financial?
So you would probably...
You were considering the CTO role then during this period of time. Were there any other principal new players that had come into Ingres by that point that you should mention here? John Acker, was he still there at that point, or he left by then?
Well, what happened was, at the very beginning, Sutter Hill said, Acker is a good sales guy, but he's not an administrator. You guys are obviously not administrators. You basically want, a VP of operations. And so they said, you guys should hire Gary Morgenthaler, who is now VC. And he had a long history of Gary as well. Oh, great. So you should hire him. And so he was basically, managing the business. Acker was doing sales. And the three of us were watching our engineering.
You said watching us, the CTO, you didn't necessarily, you weren't the VP of development though.
That was the first approximation. That was Paul Butterworth. And then much later, we actually hired a VP of engineering, but that was much later.
Other significant people at that point in time that you can remember?
So what happened was it became clear fairly quickly
Zachary was not the long-term president. And so I would get gentle nudging from the VCs, and I would just say, no, Zachary stays. And so eventually it became clear even to me, and then Zachary was left the company. We did a search. This would probably have been either 83 or 84, and concluded that we couldn't hire anybody better than Gary, so we got promoted to be CEO. How long did Gary stay? Until 87, I think. At the time of the public offering? At the time of the public offering. What happened after that? So I guess what happened was things were going okay, but they weren't going great. And part of that was probably, due to competing with Oracle. And so things were okay, but they weren't great. And so at some point, we decided that we should hire a COO under Gary. And so we did so. And that guy's name was Paul something or other. I can't remember his last name. So we hired. So Gary was the CEO, and we had the COO. And that was actually, I think, what the go public configuration was. So you're still continuing, you and Gene and I are all continuing to still be involved. What was one of the major things you were concerned about during that period of time from a technical standpoint? In the 80s, late 80s, how to compete against Oracle. Okay, so from a feature standpoint, or if you look at it from a marketing standpoint, how do you do it? From a feature standpoint, what could we do in the product that would give us competitive advantage against Oracle? And they say it's very difficult when you're competing against an American strategy. They would say, whatever we did, they say, we're about to have it too. And that one thing that was said specifically at the meeting that we were at, that was in fact the when you announce something, they would say, yes, we have it also, or we will have it shortly. So we did. So we put some very innovative stuff. Give me an example of two or three other things you remember. So we introduced a distributed database system called Ingres Star, which would integrate data over in multiple Ingres installations so that you could scale out. And Oracle needed it, also we have it too. And even though they didn't really, they were able to fight the market. We introduced the notion of abstract data types, and so we did very innovative technical things. I'm just having a record of some of those things that you felt were so significant. The biggest mistake we made, I think, was Gary Kelly, who was then at Sequent, said, what you guys want to do is do intra-query parallelism so that we can spread a single query over multiple Sequent CPUs. So we had a little skunk works to try and do that, but it was never very serious. So Gary eventually got disgusted, and he left Sequent and went to Informix and did exactly the same thing. And so intra-query parallelism was largely why Informix was so successful in the early 90s. So it was an opportunity we screwed up. And as mostly, Ingres was trying to do too many things, and whatever we did, Oracle would apply the American strategy. Did they eventually implement those things even though they were later? So once they saw the spec of what you were doing, they were able to imitate or copy that? Well, they would do crummy installation implementations of parts of stuff, and say they had it next month. In fact, it would come out in 3 years. It was standard Microsoft Oracle FUD. Well, there's a lot of other companies who had that same approach before that, so it's not embedded by either of those two companies. That's true. We have a long record of the mainframe world. There's a company called IBM which occasionally accused of doing some of those kinds of things. Yes. As I say, I think everyone will agree that sort of throughout the 80s, Ingres was a universally better product than Oracle, and much more innovative in terms of bringing features into the database. Now, there was a point in about 1991 where Oracle was in very deep financial trouble, and basically very close to going out of business, we were told. Were you aware of that at the time? Yeah. Did you find any way to take advantage of that, even if it didn't help Ingres sales? You did not. Reason? Oracle hit it very well. I mean, we knew it, but if we told customers Oracle's about to go under, they would say, says who? So you say, well, that's what the Toms, are telling us. So you weren't able to take advantage of that weakness at that point in time. Then you brought in new management, which apparently did clean things up from a financial standpoint. At least that's what we were told. But they also were close to going under, I think, in 82 or 83, because the product basically didn't work. And they managed to, pull the rabbit out of the hat then. But yeah, that was before you were a significant company at that point. So yes, sir. Informix becomes a much more significant player in the late 1980s or early 1990s. I think so. So Ingres
I think it was in, so I think it was, yeah, not great. My memory on dates isn't very okay. We'll pick them up. But I think in 89 or 90, it was real clear that, Ingres had lost to Oracle, and there wasn't a whole lot you could do about it. And so sale, so you had a viable company, but one that wasn't really going anywhere. And so the company decided to sell itself to Ask, to basically partner with a big application at Ingres, and to get Sandy Kurtzig as president, who would have be able to counter some of Ellison's charisma in the marketplace. So basically, Ask, we got bought by Ask, but to a first approximation, very quickly it was really a reverse merger, because the Ask system, the Ask manufacturing application didn't really work. And so over the next few quarters, Ingres became the dominant piece of the composite company. And they buy using stock or using cash? How was that acquisition made? Cash. It's a cash deal. Was you also involved in the company after it was bought by Ask? Well, what happened was, I'll have to answer personally. So Sandy Kurtzig arrived on the scene. Her reaction to sort of thin margins was to cut engineering. And the only reason Ingres sold was it was a technically better product. So she cut engineering, which meant how long could it stay a better product. She also demonstrated that she had no solution to the marketing problem against Oracle. So by then, so that made the handwriting on the wall that the company was not going to do well. So then I left. And it was eventually sold to CA, but that was after I left. You're showing up here that you stayed there until 1992 with Ingres. Is that the year it was sold for Ask? Was that afterward? It was sold to Ask before 92. And it was sold to CA after 92. I think those dates are all maybe. Well, I'm quoting primarily from your from that. I'm not sure those dates are good. We'll check them out to be sure. Meanwhile, during these years, you're continuing your progress, at least from an associate professor to a full professor, at Berkeley. What other activities were you doing at Berkeley during that time? So what became? So I guess so Ingres, starting in probably 1981 or 82. There were probably 40 research papers put out by the research community, all of which had the following theme. Well, relational databases are supposed to be terrific. So we tried out using one in application X, and X is a variable with 40 values. And guess what? It didn't work all that well because of Y. There's 40 Ys. And therefore, here's the stuff we invented to fix the problem. And so there'd be a whole bunch of suggestions. Were these industries or applications or some combination? CAD, text processing, and so it became pretty clear that relational databases didn't work outside of business data processing at all. Because all these bunch of examples were all other stuff other than business data processing. So one of the places where they really didn't work at all was geographic information systems. And one of the main people at Berkeley who was interested in Ingres was a guy named Praveen Varaya. Varaya. So he did urban systems and was very interested in geographic data. And it didn't work in relational databases. So I looked at these papers and saw a bunch of solutions to various vertical markets. So I said there ought to be a better way to fix relational databases than what people are proposing. So we came up with the notion of abstract data types, which are now in all the relational database systems. And we wrote a paper in 1983 that sort of said, here's how to do a much more general way of extendability in relational databases. And at that point, up until then, we had been extending Ingres, so we still had the university version of Ingres, and we still had a full-time programmer and 3 or 4 students, and we were doing various things. And this was on the non-commercial version of Ingres you were using. Okay, thank you. But it was clear that this was not a viable long-term strategy. So at some point, we had to bite the bullet, throw everything away, and rewrite it. So in '83, we decided to throw everything overboard and start writing Postgres. So basically, we started building the database system called Postgres. And this was actually during the '80s, not okay. This was in '83. And so the key goal of Postgres was extendability, which is make it work on GIS, make it work on document management, make it work on CAD. The second thing was to by then people had put in referential integrity, had put in the notion of triggers. So there's these ad hoc ways of fixing up the database system. So put in a much more general rule system. And then the third thing, which I wish actually had gone somewhere, was Well, say if you look at double entry accounting, they don't ever overwrite anything. You put in corrections. And so relational databases have this notion that you want to update something, you overwrite the old value. So I said, it would be fun to build a system that didn't do that kept the old value so that you could then get a complete trail. You could rewind time and do time travel. So Postgres did all of that. And so it was a very, very innovative system that we worked on throughout the mid-'80s at Berkeley.
Why weren't you doing that as part of or in conjunction with English company?
They did eventually put in abstract.
But that was your question. During that period of time, why would you do that as part of the university as against doing it as part of the country?
Well, because the company was focused on things that would generate revenue in the short and the near term, and these were sort of science projects.
Did you ever propose to the company that they underwrite these research projects or to the VCs or to anyone?
Well, we were well funded by the various agencies of the federal government. And so one of the frustrations was my realization that they weren't. I guess the simple answer is that it would have been very hard for Ingress or Postgres. You would have had to rewrite everything. And for them to do an incompatible transition from old product to new product, it's just really difficult.
That's because we discussed earlier, you didn't own Silver.
So they would have had to do their own Silver. And it was clear that in the brutal competitive environment they were in, that they had no stomach for that. And so, and also, they didn't spend any money on research. They much preferred us to get funded. So they viewed us as their research department, but they didn't have to pay for it.
Okay, so you felt there was no conflict in doing this with who were you working with on Postgres?
That was me and Larry Rowe.
Gene Long was not a part of that process. Were there any other people that were key to that, what you were doing on Postgres? That's just me and Larry. What roles did you play in that?
We were, I think we were co-leading the project.
Former programmers or graduate students doing the programming?
For this whole time, we had one full-time programmer and 2 or 4 or 5 students.
It's incredible what relatively small teams skunk work like groups can really accomplish, isn't it?
I think, an interesting comment, which is what we did for Ingress was that we would hire, one thing that isn't very well known, or maybe as well known, is that first across the nation, Bill Joy wrote for BSD. Pretty much. There were other people involved, but a huge piece of the system was him. And so you find a couple of super programmers and they can move mountains. So we would look at Berkeley. Also, what happened was that, we had our own machine at a time when this was not very usual. And we would give students a terminal to take home so they could run night and day on their own machines. And so Eric Ullman is now fairly well known as the inventor of SendMail. He was one of the Ingress programmers who wrote just huge amounts of stuff. And so we look for, super talented people, and we were attracted because, we had a playpen that was better than what was available. And so throughout most of this time, a small team could produce huge amounts. I think that's a very perceptive thing. The other thing that you do is that, that this is straight rapid prototyping, which is there's no document. You don't write functional specs or any of the stuff that people do. You just go and do it and see if it works. And if it doesn't work, well, then you try something else. So it's and with a small, very, very bright team, you can get a lot done.
The ratios of the really top programmers versus the average programmer, you see 10 to 100 to 1. It's an unbelievable ratio. I've had a few of those I've had the pleasure working with in my life, and it's really just sort of you need to light up when you find people like that.
So Postgres SQL, which is a popular open source system, is basically the thing we wrote with a small team.